it, you understand all the self-help literature, all of it. But they just give it in different, they offer it in different formats, package it in different ways in order to market it. It's just for marketing. It is belief generates passion or motivation, and that gives action. That's it. This is why all of them tell you, entertain a good vision about yourself, you rehearse, mentally what you want to be, and keep that on your mind repeatedly, and they give you different sorts of exercises, different sorts of activities to that effect. And ultimately they say, you will get there. And this is what they call mental rehearsal. This is the basic premise of the law of attraction. They say if you keep thinking of something, it will come to you. It doesn't come to you. It doesn't come to you. It's your thoughts. It's your belief, generate your beliefs. Once you have a belief, there's a passion within you to pursue that, because that's how humans function. This is how belief is translated into action, into passion, motivation, and then action. This is how human life works. That's the basic premise of human life, human contribution. So they have different statements. There's no law of attraction. It's your beliefs that get you there, and we will talk about this inshallah in detail, why it happens. And this is what I believe one of the most famous books in this is the one, that Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. One of the first chapters he says, thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. Because whatever you have in your mind as thoughts, it will materialize ultimately, which they describe them as thoughts, but ultimately thoughts affect your beliefs. A bit complex process. I'll try to explain inshallah in the next following days. So this secularism that we have today shows that there's a problem with our hearts. If we truly believe, this belief would definitely translate on our actions. So whatever actions you see a person has, that's a clear manifestation, a reflection of what's in his heart. Islamic nationalism. We call this Islamic passion. You go to Muslim countries, they're so passionate about Islam, and they're so patriot about Islam, and they feel bad about the state of the Muslim Ummah. And they criticize everyone in the world. Everyone in the world. Governments, politics, general masses, media, everybody. They even curse rich people who don't have the same level of awareness that they themselves have. And check their own states. Check their own states. Many of them don't even pray. Many of them deal with riba. Many of them have no Islamic principles in their homes. Why? It's only passion, Islamic patriotism. This is why when, for example, the Shia claim to be fighting Israel or the Jews, and Muhammad Ahmadinejad appears on the screen saying, we want to wipe Israel out of the map. Yes? Muslims chase after that. It's very common in the Arab world today. They say, we want Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, to be the Khalifa of the Muslims. Now they don't know. This person says the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prostitute. He says that. Obviously he doesn't say it in public. He's clever enough. But that's their belief. Their books are full with that. And he has never said anything to deny it. That's their belief. That's their aqeedah. That's what they believe in. The whole rituals are about what? About hatred, generating hatred towards Muslims. Why do you think they wipe themselves, or they whip themselves, and they hit themselves, they cut themselves? What for? For a few reasons. Why Abu Bakr and Umar took the Khilafah from Ali? And you agree with that, so to them you are a legitimate target. You see, so it's all, anyone who just carries the name of Islam, no matter what he believes in, even if he worships shaitan, as long as he calls that Islam, these people just follow him. And unfortunately, that's the same type of people who will follow a Dajjal. Because the Dajjal will stop the sun, will order the clouds to give rain, and will order the vegetation to grow, will grow. So, if they just, the word Islam itself makes them follow the devil. So what if they see all of these signs? They would believe he's Allah. So what they have, they just want name Islam. They don't want the content of Islam, the reality of Islam, the spirit of Islam. These people don't even bother about it. This is why many of them don't even pray. They don't have any Islamic principles. It's only a matter of nationalism, patriotism. That's my nationality, that's my identity, is Islam, so I want it to be the uppermost. Whether, even if those who call themselves Muslims, they worship the devil, as long as they call it Islam, I'm after that. I support that. So they've stripped Islam of its content and of its reality just for the sake of the title. This is what we call Islamic nationalism. This is why we ask these questions. What does Islam have to offer us to really set the record straight with the Muslims? We have lack of confidence, and that's the ultimate result that Muslims have. Inferiority complex. This is why you have many of the modernists today. Many of the modernists today, they say, the hudud are a historical thing, traditional thing. Hijab is traditional, it has nothing to do with Islam. They've stripped Islam of so many things. Why? Because they are under the constant pressure of fitting in, being similar to the West. Once they find any clue about something in Islam that could be similar to what we have in the West, they rush to the West. Hey, we have something like you. We have something similar. Now these people, the origin of their behavior is this inferiority complex. This is why you have lack of confidence. Lack of confidence. And there are, unfortunately, this this kind of trend is rising. Some people who had some knowledge, now they're speaking out. They're saying all these, these Islamic hudud, these Islamic punishments are barbaric. They use the same word. They say these are barbaric. And they talk about different Islamic things like hijab. They say, women all around the world are dressed up decently, except for the weekends. So there's no need, because decency is a relative matter. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, decency was to cover yourself. Now, there's no need for that. Now they violate all the Islamic principles when it comes to that. But what is the reason? It's that weakness that they feel as a result of what is happening to the Muslim Ummah. Okay, what are the available proposed solutions by Muslims? Now Muslims have reacted to that with different ways. Some of them were political, some of them were social, some of them were intellectual and philosophical. But I'll just mention these to serve our purposes. Now, among the most sincere have been regenerating Islamic knowledge. And this is what you have with many Islamic institutes, Islamic universities, individual scholars, trying to increase the level of teaching Islam. So they teach people the Islamic disciplines. They teach them fiqh, aqidah, they teach them usul al-fiqh, they teach them seerah, and all these Islamic disciplines, which is very important, but it's not enough. And the problem is the one that I mentioned before Salat al-Isha, is that we have a serious problem with the Arabic language. Not with the Arabic itself, but the Arabic that we speak, our level of Arabic, our competence in Arabic language. We think we understand, but actually the average native Arab today understands from the true Islamic sources between 30% to maximum 50%. Language is a package. There are so many meanings associated with the word. So it's not only one word and its meaning. It's much deeper than that. And I mentioned the example of La ilaha illallah. People of Mecca understood very well what it meant. Once they heard it, they realized it meant that very word. Imagine the power of that word. They realized they had to change the whole social system, the whole religious system, the whole financial system. They realized there was going to be a total change, a sweeping change in their culture. They realized that. They could read it as soon as they heard the word. Now people fall in shirk and they say, La ilaha illallah. And some of them sing it and they jump up and down and say, La ilaha illallah. And they call it Islamic nasheed. And in the very event, people are making shirk. So that's a problem. So regenerating Islamic knowledge, so many of the sincere people of knowledge and sincere rich Muslims have tried to invest in regenerating Islamic knowledge. That's part of the solution, but that's not everything. That's not everything, because even if you get the whole or the majority of the Muslims today to understand the knowledge according to the level that is prevalent today among the students of knowledge, there will still be a gap between the reality of the life in which we live and that knowledge. that knowledge is very much theory. And this is why I said there's a huge number of the students of knowledge. Some of them reach the high level as well. When you deal with them, they're just like anybody else you pick up from the street. The same kind of behavior, the same kind of transactions, the same kind of speech, the same kind of language, the same kind of attitude. Nothing is different. But when they are teaching, it's a totally different world. Another attempt to deal with the situation was slipping into pseudo-practicality. Pseudo-practicality, people are trying just to show that Islam is practical. Islam is not against the general culture today. So obviously, under this pressure, under this impression, they said, well, there's no real proof to say that music is haram. So now music became a tool for da'wah. Music became a tool for da'wah. And they said that the best way to get to people is through music, and because they love songs and we speak the language that these people speak. But the ahadith are very clear from the Prophet ﷺ, there's no doubt about that. So don't follow the mistakes of some scholars. Yes, some respected scholars fell into this problem. But anyone who approaches the matter with a basic amount of knowledge and lack of bias, with neutrality, it's clear to them, at least, to be on the safe side, leave that music. But it's clear for the students of knowledge and the scholars, alhamdulillah, that's the opinion of the majority of the scholars, that music is haram. Music is haram. The other example of this pseudo kind of practicality is modernism. These people, they just want to be like non-Muslims, and as I said, keep the name Islam. Keep the prayer, because you can pray at home, you can fast, no problem, but mix with women, because these women are dressed up decently, you can deal with them. There's nothing called hudud. Riba is different, because the whole concept of silver and gold and money and notes is totally different than the life of the Prophet ﷺ. So there's nothing called riba today. That interest is not riba, so you deal with it, otherwise you will be ostracizing yourself, keeping yourself away from the society. It doesn't work. So basically these people, they just want to strip Islam of its spirit, keep the rituals as only physical kind of activity, and just be like anybody else. And I'm telling you, these people, wallahi, I have no doubt that if a culture develops within the West, that polygamy is something good, and the Westerners start to marry 1, 2, and 3, and becomes a prevalent thing, these same people who say that polygamy is part of the past, it's a cultural thing, and it's no longer halal as well, these very people will jump on and say, oh, we have this already in Islam. You see how beautiful Islam is? These are the same people. So they don't have absolute morality, they don't have a character, they don't have this security, because they lack the Islamic principles. Another approach to the current situation was using Islamic facade. And what I mean by that, some Muslims have seen the practicality of like new sciences or new disciplines, like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. They saw it was very successful in business, in coaching. It was, well, some of it is practical, no one denies that. But what could be criticized about these people, now if a person learns any of these practical disciplines, and they can use them and benefit from them, there's no harm with that. But the problem is with some Muslims, and that's very prevalent in the Arab world today. They bring one principle from NLP, and they say, that's Islam. They take some hadith, sprinkle some hadith on it here and there, and the hadith is out of place. But they just push it, they force it into the text, into the book, or into the lecture, and they say, see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this. And they quote totally different meaning. And then they say, okay, that's Islam. So NLP was already in Islam, and that's the problem with these people, because NLP has some pitfalls. Any science that is not originally Muslim and originated by people who are aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and aware of His rights, because there's nothing as neutral. There's nothing neutral. Everything we do, as I said, emanates from our beliefs. These people have a set of beliefs. They arrived at NLP as a result of their beliefs. So it has a lot, it's tainted, it's saturated with their beliefs. So you can't quote anything and say, okay, like I've heard some brothers and some dua, unfortunately, talk about the law of attraction. They say, yes, if you just keep thinking of something and you want it, badly, Allah will cause it to come close to you. And then they mentioned some verses about وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي مُسْتَقَرًّا لَهَا, something about the sun and the moon. I don't know how they linked it up.